My name is Stephanie, and I'm the moderator today. Before we get started, I do want to remind all board members who are not speaking just to keep your microphone muted. If I detect any background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted mics, I will interject a friendly reminder to mute yourself, or I may mute your microphone myself. And for the public, when it does come time for public comment, we will be utilizing the Webex question and answer feature. So when the board president reaches a point in the agenda where public comment is appropriate, public comment will be requested. And at the board's discretion, I will turn it on and announce the opening of the Q&A feature. Thank you, Bill, is putting on the instructions that will show up on your screen during that time. The board members themselves are utilizing the hand raise feature. So if you are an attendee to this meeting and you are raising your hand, please note that you will not be called on. We will only be doing public comment via the Q&A panel. So thank you so much, Bill. And I will turn it back over to Board President Amy Matecki. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie and Bill. Thank you, Ben, for help us get the technical problem solved. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the California Acupuncture Board meeting. My name is Dr. Amy Matecki. I am the president of the board. Today is Friday, June 25th, 2020. The board meeting is being held by Webex. Pursuant to the provisions of Governor Gavin Newsom's Executive Order N-25-20, dated March 12, 2020, neither a public location nor teleconference locations are provided. This meeting will be recorded, and the lunch break is 12 to 1 p.m. today, and the time is now 9:44 a.m. So, Christine, please take a roll call and establish a quorum.
Good morning, Christine Brothers. Let me take roll. Dr. Matecki.
Present.
Chan.
Present.
Chen.
I'm here, present.
Oh, board member Chen.
Present.
Ideon.
Here.
Kim.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Osario.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Christine. We will now move to agenda item number 2, President's remarks. Since we met last August, our roles have changed significantly. Many challenges have arisen due to the pandemic coronavirus. New strategies and policies are being developed and implemented to mitigate the potential spread. I would like to thank Governor Newsom and all staff of the Governor's Office, California Department of Public Health, Department of Consumer Affairs, and Director Kimberly Kirchmeier for their leadership to continue caring for the people who are affected by this unprecedented crisis. I want to thank our board executive officer, Ben Boudia, and all board staff for their diligence and flexibility to maintain board operations in light of the changing working environment this past 3 months. They have quickly provided guidance for the public and the stakeholders on the board website. I want to recognize the hardship and the difficulties those entering the acupuncture profession are currently experiencing. I would also like to thank our former board member, Bradley Smino, for his service and contribution to our board, and our former legal counsel, Sava Bojak, for her advice and recommendations to our board for the past 2.5 years. I also want to thank our board members for their service and ongoing contributions. Now I would like to welcome and briefly introduce our new board member, Dr. Yingping Chen. Dr. Chen was appointed by Governor Newsom. She has practiced Chinese medicine for over 30 years. She was the chair of the California Acupuncture's United Association, founding vice president of the California Acupuncture and Traditional Medicine Association, and a board member of the American Alliance for Professional Acupuncture Safety. Detailed information about Dr. Chen is available on the Acupuncture Board website. Dr. Chen, would you like to say a few words? Please unmute your phone.
Thank you, Dr. Mataki. Hello, everyone. My name is Yong Chen. I'm honored to have this opportunity to serve on the board and fulfill the Acupuncture Board's mission to protect and benefit California consumers. I look forward to working together with everybody serving the board. Thank you. And I really wish this meeting is face-to-face so I can see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. I would also like to welcome our new legal counsel, Fred Chang Yu. Fred, will you please unmute your phone and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fred Chan Yu, and I have been assigned to be the board's counsel, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, Fred. As we move forward in this pandemic fighting the coronavirus, please keep in mind the board's highest priority is for public protection. So now let's move on to agenda item number 3, public comment for items not on agenda. The board will now hear public comment for items not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. Stephanie and Bill, can you please facilitate the public comments?
This is the moderator, Stephanie. Thank you so much. I am now going to be opening up the Q&A feature, which we are going to utilize for public comment. So if you would like to make a public comment, please click the icon with a question mark with a square located at the bottom center of your Webex screen. We are sharing the instructions on the screen for your reference. In the ask field, typically a roller right hand on the Webex screen, type "I would like to make a public comment" and send it to all panelists. Any other communication will not be responded to. It's not necessary to identify yourself in order to make a public comment, and I will take comments in order that they are received. Please note that the Q&A feature is only be used as a means for the members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. I will unmute you, and once you are unmuted, the member of the public may verbally state their comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or members of the board. Such inquiries submitted using this feature will not be answered. I will now give a moment for you to all access this feature, and I will start taking comments in the order that they are received. Okay, the first member to make a public comment, Robert, I have unmuted your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Robert Steele.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Distinguished members of the California Acupuncture Board, my name is Tom Keel. I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine and a licensed acupuncturist. I'm on the Board of Trustees of the California Acupuncture and Traditional Medicine Association, CalAtma. Now, I'm speaking here today on behalf of the members of our association. Our world is facing the worst global pandemic in over 100 years, with currently almost 10 million positive cases of COVID-19 and close to 500,000 deaths. As of June 24th, California has reported 195,571 positive cases and 5,733 deaths and climbing. There's no vaccine in sight in the near future, and may I remind you that we still do not have a vaccine for the HIV virus. Traditional Chinese herbal medicine has a long history of successfully treating epidemic pandemic outbreaks. We have an ethical duty to research and implement treatments that can literally help save lives. CalAtma supports the California Acupuncture Board to adopt a resolution to create an emergency task force to review emerging clinical studies and evidence on the efficacy and safety of traditional Chinese medicinal herbs in the treatment of COVID-19, to submit a report of their findings and recommendations and outline a plan of action for the state of California based on a systematic review of evidence. This time is of the essence. We would like to see the task force formed ASAP and receive their recommendations by September 15th, 2020. As a licensed acupuncturist and the first Chinese medicine doctor to complete a 2-year integrative medicine residency in a U.S. hospital, and the first Chinese medicine chief resident in U.S. hospital history, I volunteer to be a member of this task force and donate my time for this very important cause if Governor Newsom and the California Acupuncture Board deem me qualified. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yes, there are.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it just takes me a moment to mute and find the next participant, so please bear with me.
Sure.
Michael McCullough, I have unmuted your mic.
Thank you very much.
You may now make a public comment.
Thank you. And am I now being heard on the app?
Yes, you are.
Very good. Thank you. And dear California Acupuncture Board members, I'm a public health trained acupuncturist, tutorial trained in acupuncture here in California, and public health trained at the University of California, Berkeley School of Public Health with a PhD in epidemiology. My training in epidemiology has helped me to see how evidence-based research can inform and improve traditional Chinese medicine care for many different health conditions. Traditional Chinese medicine has research proven benefit through randomized controlled trials and laboratory studies in 2 essential areas that are central to this discussion we're having now. Number 1, the known risk factors for severe COVID-19, which are chronic lung disease, diabetes and metabolic syndromes, and heart disease, can be greatly benefited through traditional Chinese medicine care. Also, the known symptoms of COVID-19 in particular and other respiratory viral illnesses in general can also be effectively treated with traditional Chinese medicine. The scope of practice of traditional Chinese medicine contains a robust diagnostic and therapeutic skill set that can be used to help manage the symptoms of patients with viral respiratory illnesses. I have trained hundreds of acupuncturists in research literacy skills and found them to be eager to learn from research and then apply it in their practice. With that in mind, I encourage the board to consider and adopt our proposal for establishing a COVID-19 task force that will gather and bring the published evidence for patient symptoms management in respiratory illness, make that available to licensed acupuncturists, and thereby help improve public health and safety through appropriate care within the scope of practice of licensed acupuncturist in California that is further informed by the availability of this research. Thank you for your time and this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you.
Now I have unmuted your microphone.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I'm being heard. That seems to be what everybody's double checking.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I am Dr. Nelson Messina. I'm the president of CSOMA. We have a few items for public comment. Thank you so much for the time. Given the current pandemic that we've been experiencing, CSOMA wants to ensure that licensed acupuncturists fall into the category of essential workers in any newly created definition. Licensed acupuncturists provide an essential health benefit under the Affordable Care Act. Licensed acupuncturists are defined as primary care providers. And given this current state of affairs and this being an important topic for the growth of our profession, CSOMA wants to understand better the role that the California Acupuncture Board takes in these discussions ongoing. Our second item we'd like in public comment, Athletic Trainer Bill 1592, now AB 1665. CSOMA recently sent a letter to the CAB on April 14th, 2019, with concerns for public safety regarding the fact that there was an omission of the practice of acupuncture included in the bill under section 2697.14. And we requested that the CAB strongly object to the current wording omissions of the bill 1592 on the basis of lack of protections to public safety in regard to the licensed practice of acupuncture in California. We also wrote the sponsor of the bill in the Assembly and his staffer outlining these above concerns and requesting acupuncture be listed. And we will be issuing a position statement supporting as long as this amendment is made. Our third item for comment, AB 1850, worker classification, independent contractor versus employee. We would like to know, as CSOMA, what the California Acupuncture Board's position is on this bill. Should acupuncturists be exempt? There are a few potential opportunities for employment status as a licensed acupuncturist. The jobs available for acupuncturists often require a sole proprietorship or independent contractor. And under this bill, to our understanding, if acupuncturists were exempt, they would not have to qualify under the strict rules of determining whether or not they qualify as a contractor versus employee. Lastly, and in the spirit of talking about opportunities for employment, CSOMA reiterates our support of California adopting the NCCAOM exam as the state license standard. CSOMA published a second position paper to add relevant benefits to this adoption, such as increased job opportunities, a more streamlined and cost-effective licensure process for our graduates, and national board certification, which we have to understand is the gold standard in other health professions. So understanding that this takes legislative change to absolve CAB, we just want to know what is CAB's position, and we request this be added to the next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been point of order. The board will be discussing legislative bills during the legislative bills item on the agenda, and there will be a public comment available at that time on each specific bill. Additionally, there is a professional association and consumer association agenda item reserved for professional and consumer associations of acupuncture later on in the day as well. You are definitely welcome to make public comment, but I just wanted to let you know that this is available as separate agenda items later. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm now going to move on to the next person. So, Craig, I have unmuted your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Madam President, members of the board, greetings. My name is Craig Brandt, and I'm here to help. I am one of the members of the community that is submitting this proposal and resolution to the board today, all of which I think you should have a copy of, requesting that an emergency task force be set up to study the use of traditional Chinese medicine, and in particular, herbal medicine, in the fight against the COVID-19 virus. I got involved with other community members as a lawyer. That's what I am by trade. And I also have been receiving acupuncture treatments for the last decade and am quite familiar with the business of acupuncture. I have helped a number of acupuncture organizations in California with general legal issues and will continue to do that. And this task force, if it is created, will be an opportunity for the entire state, all the acupuncturists in the state, to unite behind one goal, a common goal, to protect the public. I will note that right now, when I look at the major news sources out there, online and offline, there is no discussion about traditional Chinese medicine or Chinese herbs in the fight against this virus. It's a total blackout. The public knows nothing about this. And that needs to change. And this task force can be set up and can be an avenue for that change. And if ever there needs to be an opportunity to do this, it's now, and it should be done now. The other thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, since I'm the legal guy, is that the resolution itself, I did look at the acupuncture laws, and they talk a lot about the fact that acupuncture laws are there to protect the public. And creating this task force clearly is designed to protect the public. And so it fits under the acupuncture laws in general about that. Specifically, you'll note in the resolution under paragraph L that the following, I'm going to read it to you. This is the legal part of me. The relationship between the acupuncture board and the task force is limited to the task force providing critical information to a public body during a pandemic.
30-second warning.
Thank you.
30-second warning.
Okay. It is understood and acknowledged by all parties that the acupuncture board does not in any manner, directly or indirectly, endorse, certify, sanction, or otherwise promote any particular herbal formula. So that's the protection that's in there to protect the board. Now, I'm available. The executive officer knows how to reach me. If you, any member of the board, wants to reach me, I would ask that you, when you get to agenda item number 17, that you put this matter on the agenda for a stakeholder meeting within 30 days, because this is an urgent thing that needs to be done. I won't be able to be online for agenda item number 17, so I'm hoping that one of the members of the board will do that on my behalf and on behalf of the others. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Dave, I have unmuted your mic.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Dave Grinnell, and my expertise is working with government bodies like yourself to create new measures that fill gaps in government services. Specifically, I was an aide for Jerry Brown. I used to be a chief of staff for a number of elected officials, and I know some of the challenges you guys face in doing your job. Just pulling off a public meeting like this online is a great accomplishment. Well done. I'm here to talk to you about the task force. I'm one of the people who's behind this initiative, and I have been in copy by email with, I think, over 60 people now who want to see this happen. And I would like to be able to respond to them. This is something that you're going to consider. But here's really what I want to say. I think we're in an unusual moment. It is not a business as usual moment. It's a moment where we have to ask ourselves, can we go beyond our normal everyday constraints? And in some ways, I think we're in a civil rights moment for Chinese medicine. Now, what I mean by being in a civil rights moment for Chinese medicine is there are over 300 studies, as you know, that are beginning to show the efficacy of TCM and herbal medicine in treating COVID-19 all over the world. And those studies are not being reviewed or acted upon in the United States. Why is that? Well, I've talked to most of my friends who are Western MDs and who work for Western hospitals, and they have all basically told me off the record, there's a lot of institutionalized bias against TCM, herbal medicine, and Ayurveda. And that's part of the problem. The answer is this. The studies are emerging. They show that these formulas and treatments can work. What is needed, according to these people I'm talking to, is a systematic review of the studies and the evidence that is emerging, which qualitatively shows which studies rise to the highest level of scientific expertise and evaluation, which we can all stand behind. That is the purpose for me in having a task force to review the mounting evidence that is out there. Once those have been reviewed by a task force, you have your body of evidence. Now we have something to stand on. We can go to the Western medical community. We can say, look, we've vetted these. These are the ones that we stand by. These are the ones that make a difference. Now, I will tell you one other thing, and that is I have done numerous initiatives like this for governments at different levels. And I'm available to work with you too. But I have to say, because it's an urgent matter,
30-second warning.
Every time I've ever tried to do something important with the community, there's always been someone to say no. And it is usually your attorney. And I'm happy to work with your attorney. Hi, Fred. Fred is probably not this kind of attorney, the kind that's not going to work towards solving the problem, which is how we meet this goal. There are many ways to do that. And in every case that I have worked on these initiatives, we've been able to find a pathway. I'm available to help you do that. It just means being creative. You don't have to call it a task force. I hope you will. It could be a working group. It could be a public hearing. The board has the right to do these things in terms of asking for expertise, but more than the right, it is not business as usual. This is a national emergency, and we're asking you to step a little bit outside of your comfort zone to take a risk to do something that's going to make a very big difference for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron, you have been unmuted.
Good morning. This is Ron Zeidman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
good morning. This is Ron Zeidman. I'm president of Five Branches University, a graduate school of traditional Chinese medicine. The two comments I have for today are, number one is the Accreditation Commission for our profession has recently chosen a new title for our profession. And it's something that we all have to be aware of because it moves away from the definition of the medicine that we have here in California, which is comprehensive and includes both acupuncture and herbal medicine as one entity, as one medicine. The new title is now, they're going to be using the title of either Master of Acupuncture or Doctor of Acupuncture with specialization in Chinese medicine. They are no longer going to use any comprehensive terms such as traditional medicine or traditional Chinese medicine or Oriental medicine. It's going to be acupuncture with a certification in herbal medicine or specialization in herbal medicine. And I think all the boards of all the states will have to make statements if this is something that they support or if in fact they support the definition we've had in California, which is more comprehensive. And the good news on that is that the Accreditation Commission will respect the desires and decisions of the states. So this is a time where we will have to make a statement that we represent and support a comprehensive view of traditional Chinese medicine. The second comment is on the recent budgetary reviews being done by our government, which may take out acupuncture from Medi-Cal. And there are many patients who are using acupuncture, who are on Medi-Cal, who are using acupuncture, especially for the treatment of pain and getting away from the use of opioids. At our university, we see like 200 patients a week from
32nd morning.
Okay. So we definitely want to support keeping acupuncture in Medi-Cal. It helps our patients, and it'll help the budget because it's lower cost than opiate use and all the consequences of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron has now been muted. Moving on to the next question. One moment, I believe the next person on the list may have left the meeting. Let me just double check. It looks like the next comment, the person has left the meeting, so I'm going to be moving on to the next person, which is Alan. Alan, you have been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please? Alan, you have been unmuted to make your public comment. Can we do a quick mic check, please? Oh, it looks like Alan would like to cancel his request, so I will be muting Alan. Neil, I am unmuting your microphone. Can you please do a quick mic check, please?
Neil Miller, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Great. I'll try to get this in within 2 minutes. First, I want to echo Ron Zeidman's concerns regarding the new title and ACOM, and I will make a request later that this be on an agenda, but we in California represent 1/3 of the practitioners in America, and the way that we practice here should definitely be stated, and we've now gone to ACOM approval of our schools, and we have a relationship in regulations related to ACOM, and so I just think that we need to address this issue. In regards to the comments today regarding the herbal study, I think it's important that the board understand there are 13,000 acupuncturists, as you know, and 20 different associations, of which represent only less than 2,000 people. So that means 11,000 people, 11,000 practitioners, as well as students, aren't really getting the message from the acupuncture board. They really don't know what's going on here. And I think that they need to. And the discussion regarding the herbal proposals today is a fine example. I really support the idea of doing research, but I want to point out, and in my opinion, and maybe ask a question, I don't think that this is the purview of the board. The board regulates practitioners for their minimal level of competence through the exam. They regulate the schools. They regulate compliance and regulations of scope as determined by the legislature. If the question of public safety regarding a particular herb or formulas or efficacy is done, that goes to different agencies. If there's a problem, it goes from, I believe it's the question, does it go from the board to someone else? The board doesn't investigate problems and safety of herbs. That would go to either the FDA on a federal level or the Department of Health Services in California. I just think that this is the wrong venue. I do support those who are trying to do this, and I applaud them for making a public statement today. But I think it's that it would benefit the acupuncture board and all of the stakeholders if we were able to establish a better relationship with all of the acupuncturists that are out there, other than just going through associations and through this. And I would like to recommend that the acupuncture board have something that they used to have in the past, which was something from the board.
30-second warning.
So the board sends something out every 3 months, and I would like to revisit that, and I'll make that comment for future items. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Neil has now been muted. Moving on to Carla. Your mic has now been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, very good.
We can hear you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Dr. Carla Wilson, and I serve as the Dean of the American College of Traditional Chinese Medicine in San Francisco. And I'd like to speak in support of this proposal. And for a variety of reasons, I think it's important. I think there is much work that needs to be done for the public to be aware of the potential that Chinese herbal medicine may play in the continued exploration and fight against COVID-19. I feel like we're early in this process, and we're definitely find ourselves in uncharted territory. But we know that Chinese herbal medicine and Chinese medicine in general has played a role in a number of epidemics. And this pandemic and the people that are suffering all over the world definitely need to know more about the potential healing that can be there through herbal medicine. And I think we have a responsibility to do that. And I support this group of people who have stepped up to create this proposal and ask for the help of the California Acupuncture Board and the possibility that this could bring together members of our community who hold the same values and the same desire to be able to make a difference in the time of COVID-19. And as we move towards hopefully a vaccine, we know that it's still quite a ways away. We know that there's going to be a need for a different way of looking at help and healing for a number of people, especially in our own communities. And in here in the Bay Area, we certainly are treating COVID-19 and are already engaged in this work. But there's work ahead. There's the work of helping people to recover. There's the work of helping people to stay resilient and live lives of health and quality as we have all gone through many lifestyle changes, and there's much of that ahead. So for the sake of time, I just want to thank the California Acupuncture Board for the opportunity to express thoughts and on this proposal. And again, I stand in support of it for our college, American College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, and are available to help in any way to help this this work to get started and to sustain it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that looks like that was the last public comment. There does not appear to be any more public comments.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. So I see there are still hands raised, but there is no comment. Okay.
Yes, we do ask that all members that are attending to lower their hand that is raised. We will not be calling on people via raised hand, and it would be very helpful to us if you did lower it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
So we will now move on to the agenda item number 4, review and the possible approval of August 15 to 16, 2019 board meeting minutes. So board members, you all have reviewed these minutes. Would any board member like to discuss them?
This is Ben. I feel it would be best for board members to verbally say no issues or no comments, just so that we have confirmation since we are in a remote setting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please unmute your phone, board members.
Gentle reminder, if you are not speaking, please mute your microphone.
This is Ben. I'm not hearing anything from the board members, though I do see that some are unmuted. It would be nice to hear no issues, or someone could just move to approve the minutes as they are. That is also.
I'll move for approval minutes, Harbedian.
Thank you, Member Harbedian. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Member Osorio. We have a motion on the table to approve the August 15th through 16th, 2019 board meeting minutes. Seconded, motion by Member Harbedian, seconded by Member Osorio. Public comment. Stephanie, we will open to public comment on the motion for approval of the minutes.
Perfect. I'll open up public comment right now. Public comment is not open, so if you'd like to make a public comment, please click the little question mark on your screen and type "I would like to make a public comment."
Thank you, Stephanie. We will leave this open for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Where is the public comment? I don't see it. Where's public comment?
Oh, please mute your mic if you.
Connection. No.
Sounds like we may have a public member that has their phone unmuted and has been given access to the audio.
Let me check.
Let's give it a little bit longer. It sounded like there may have been a public member that wanted to comment.
Sure, Ben.
But I am not. Thank you. So 30 more seconds for any members of the public that want to click that question mark in the middle of the user interface and say, I would like to make a comment. I recommend you just copy and paste, I would like to make a comment, so that way you don't have to type it out every time if you'd like to make a comment. You can just put it right into that chat box.
And it looks like we do have one public comment. Would you like me to go ahead and unmute them?
Dr. Matecki?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Okay. Neil, I will now be unmuting your microphone.
Thank you. I would just like, thank you, Neil here. I would just like to ask that the board look at the minutes, because there's a lot of ideas that go from one meeting to the next, whether it's public comment about ideas that aren't on the agenda or things that we want to move forward. And there were a lot of ideas that were brought forth on previous agendas and through the minutes of the meeting that are acknowledged today. And between now and the next meetings, I hope that you can relook at some of those comments and incorporate those into future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neil has now been muted, and it looks like we so far have no other public comments.
Okay. So Shall we have a vote?
Please.
Approve the
Christine, if
minutes?
you could please take a roll call vote.
Yes. Taking roll on approval, motion of approving the minutes. Dr. Makiteki,
Aye.
Chan,
Yes.
Dr. Chen, Dr. Chen, Yongping Chen.
Please
Dr.
unmute.
Chen, looks like you're muted.
Yeah.
I'll move on to Herabedian,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Osario.
Yes.
Okay. Should I go ahead and move back to Dr. Chen? Okay. I will go ahead and
Yeah, we could. Dr. Chen, just one last check. If you could unmute your mic and double check if you're muted on both your phone and your web client.
This is the moderator. I'm able to unmute the mic from the Webex end if you would like me to do so, just to see if we can get a connection.
Yes, please.
Okay. Chen, I'm unmuting your mic. Are you able to speak?
This is Yongping Chen. Yes. Sorry, I don't know why I can. This moment I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay, I have Dr. Chen as a yes. The motion passes 7-0.
Can we just confirm that, Dr. Chen, was that a yes for the vote or yes, you were responding to the moderator?
Yes to the vote, please.
Yes for the
Thank
vote. Okay, yes for the vote. Motion.
Thank you.
The minutes are approved.
Thank you, Christine. So do we already had the public comments on that? Okay, now let's move on to agenda item number 5, Executive Officer's Report. Ben Baudier, please.
Thank you so much, President Mateki and board members. We've all been experiencing some radical changes in the last few months. Our first item to report on is the COVID-19 update. I want to echo Dr. Mateki's sentiments in terms of both the governor's office, the governor, the department, our director, and definitely our staff. They have all been monumental in carrying the board through these times. Everybody has shifted with all these changes admirably. Our board business is being conducted, although we are seeing slowdowns in examination due to the PSI testing sites being closed from March through May. They did reopen on May 15th, and we are told that they are testing licensees right now. The governor did issue an executive order to allow licensees that were renewing up until June 30th of this year to be able to submit their continuing education within 6 months. That does expire in 5 days. However, the governor may renew that executive order, and should that happen, we will definitely post this on the list. You may have noticed, if you were on our mailing list, that our staff was very busy being able to draft clear and accurate information for our licensees, as well as a number of our other stakeholders, so that licensees know what they can and can't do. You will note that the board did not state whether licensees can or cannot practice, because there's a number of other authorities that took precedence over the board's authority here, specifically the governor, Center for Disease Control, Department of Public Health, as well as your own local Department of Health. So these are other agencies with additional authorities that can dictate, regardless of what the board says, regardless of acupuncturists being primary care providers, that they can or cannot practice, and if they are to reopen, how they are to reopen in their region. So it is very critical that acupuncturists continue to reach out to their local health department, their California Department of Health, and make sure that if they are looking to practice, they are using what is required in their area. Yes, acupuncturists are primary care providers, but even dentists and other medical professionals, including doctors, were limited in what they could practice based on these authorities. So just wanted to provide that information for everyone. The board is doing everything it can to communicate its information as clearly as possible to its licensees and to its additional stakeholders. We have been having some challenges in looking at the clinical education at training programs, or what is in the board's laws and regulations called educational and training programs. Initially, the Accreditation Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine put out an exemption, and the board had been working to create that exemption and work with the department, legal counsel, and the governor for an exemption on that. However, since then, the board had to retract its initial item request because ACOM changed its request as well. So staff is working to try to address these exemptions for educational and training programs. We are working with legal counsel, and we are looking at ACOM's new exemption, and we will be looking to have an education committee meeting in the coming weeks to be able to sort out with the board members how to properly approach this. One of the challenges is that the board's regulations state that physically present is required. The supervisors is required to be physically present. Excuse me, statute. So it's not even a regulation. So this is why we are trying to work with all these parties to be able to allow or find a resolution to the educational and training program clinical education portion. And we'll keep the board updated, and we'll have the education committee shortly. Any questions from the board on the COVID-19 update? I see everybody is muted. No questions. I will take silence to be affirmation that we may move forward. The next item is the budget update. If you turn to the tab in the materials packet, you will see an analysis of our fund condition, including this year, our current year, or CY at the top of the page, and our budget year, which is the incoming year starting in a week. And what you'll see is that although we are structurally imbalanced financially, we do still have some reserves. However, this reserve was built up over the last 30 years. The board has not increased its fees in over 30 years, and the cost of business has greatly increased in the last decade, especially, and the rise in acupuncture licenses was at first a boom and has started to slow in terms of growth. It's not negative, it's still growing. About 2 years ago, we did a trend analysis, and we saw about a 2.1% increase over the last few years, so probably between 2014 through 2017. So we do see a growth, but it definitely has slowed down from what it was when it was first introduced as a license type. And for that reason we carried out the fee study last year. We had an independent auditor come in, take a look at all our processes, take a look at all our workload and our numbers. And that fee study was discussed at the August meeting as related in the meeting minutes. And we are set even with the fee bill itself. The fees themselves have been included in the trailer bill, and we are hopeful that it will pass. They are included with other department programs, that being DCA programs that are also seeking fee increases. This language has been included in the trailer bill, and we are hopeful that it will pass and become effective on the 1st of January of 2021. Any questions on the budget report? Okay. Hearing no questions, or Kim, and I do see you are unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the staff vacancy report. Matt Nishimine, who you met at our August meeting in San Jose, departed the first week of October from our board and is now working at the Department of Consumer Affairs Regulatory Unit. We really appreciate his assistance with the fee study, and we hope to see the fruits of his labor on January 1st. Thank you, Matt. The Essential Services Manager position, therefore, has been vacant since then. Regrettably, the BizMod project and the COVID-19 pandemic put a halt to our hiring endeavors. The BizMod because I was out for a number of months, actually, and I will get to that during the business modernization update. And COVID just because it was only recently that we were able to open to the public and start being able to conduct interviews for these vacancies. But we hope to resume this process shortly after this board meeting. The board's cashier will be promoting within the state. Her last day will be at the end of June. A board seasonal clerk will be taking a promotion within the state as well, and her last day will be beginning of July. And we'd really like to thank Jenna Dennis and Angeliana Warren for their commitment and public service. They've been great in assisting all our stakeholders when they call or email, and we are very happy for their service. The board has a vacancy for an enforcement analyst. Staff is working on the hiring package, and it will be our priority after the Central Services Manager. After that, the board has a vacancy for a licensing technician, which is on number 3 on our priority list. And the board has filled a vacancy at the policy desk with the hiring of Alexander Dodge. Alex has been a quick study and will be presenting before us today on several of our agenda items. Welcome to the team, Alex. And Christine Brothers has returned to the board after a 10-month period of family leave, and we are really happy to have her back. Welcome back, Christine. Any questions on the vacancies from the board members? Seeing none, wait a little bit longer. Okay. Moving on to item D, board member services update. At the August meeting, we had approached the board and informed the board that we were creating some tailored training units for board members so they can see the various aspects of the board. We were looking to create 4-hour training sessions. However, that has been put on hold due to business modernization, due to the exit of Matt Nishimine, and due to the COVID pandemic. Once our resources are freed up a bit, we will definitely turn our attention back to seeing what training we can provide the board members. For now, we're a little stretched thin, just addressing all the challenges in the last few months, and so we are putting this on hold. I hope you can understand. Please let me know if there's any challenges. Any comments there? Hearing none. I'll move on to the business modernization update. In the last few years, I've been communicating that the board is moving through a business modernization process, part of which includes our new licensing and enforcement platform. And a vast majority of my working hours in the last 2 quarters of 2019, if not the last quarter, was spent in the BizMod process itself. The state has a very elaborate and methodical contract and bid evaluation program, and it actually, I feel, yielded really good results. So this project took most of my time from October through January. The board is in a cohort with 3 other DCA programs, the Bureau of Professional Engineers, Landscape Surveyors, and Geologists, the Bureau of Chiropractic Examiners, and the Board of Chiropractic Examiners, Board of Engineers, and the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary Education. This was to help facilitate cost savings as we're coming in as a group and able to purchase more as a bulk approach. Each program had a representative at the table. We were also joined by DCA's Chief Project Delivery and Administrative Services, Sean O'Connor, as well as DCA's Chief Technology Officer, Baird Cohn, as well as even our Chief Information Officer, Jason Pichon, on several occasions. So we definitely feel we were well supported. We appreciate their presence from all folks that were in that process, including the Department of Technology representatives, which really were helpful in guiding us through this labyrinthian yet methodical process. To give you a brief summary, starting October 14th, I left the office pretty much full time and was working at the Department of Technology with my cohort, doing assessments of the final offers. In the end of October, we scored the demonstrations. By November, we moved into negotiation preparations and negotiations. which lasted through early January. And the contract was finalized soon after, and project implementation started within a week. So everybody was ready to go. At that point, I handed off most of the responsibilities for the development of our licensing and enforcement platform to our Assistant Executive Officer, Jay Hurt. And I would like to defer to Jay Hurt for a moment so that he may provide updates on what has been happening since January and when we will be able to start seeing the fruits of our labor. Jay?
Thank you, Ben. As Ben mentioned, we've been working on implementation of our business modernization cohort 1, which represents this group of boards and bureaus that we're working with since January of this year. And at this point in time, we are wrapping up what they call MVP, which is a minimal viable product phase of the implementation. And what that means is we're doing an agile-based project, and it means that you're delivering content piece by piece rather than doing this whole big system and then delivering it all at once. And so we're at the last part of the MVP stage. Right now, we're wrapping that up. And what that will give, MVP, or the minimal viable product, will represent the first outward-facing functionality that will be available to our customers. MVP is going to include online access to for our stakeholders and customers to the initial exam and license application processes. It will allow the ability to pay for those applications from debit and credit cards. So licensees will be able to complete their work without having to talk to the board. Also, part of this will be a license renewal for those who are renewing from active to active or from inactive to inactive. Those both will, the license renewal will be the super convenience for our licensees renewing and giving them some options in terms of payment. And it's been seen to be really positive for other boards. And then it'll be super good for staff in terms of automating some work for the board. And then in terms of the MVP launch date, I was waiting for a confirmation from my analyst from the state OIS, and it's like the last week in August. So we will announce that date at some point, but I don't have that in front of me right now. And that's all I have, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay. I really appreciate that. And actually, this kind of is related a bit also to the staff update, but definitely business modernization update. As you heard, I was out for over 2 months on this project. In that time, I relied and have continued to rely heavily on Mr. Hurt. I have delegated to him the authority of the Assistant Executive Officer in October so that I may move forward with the business modernization update, and I have been very happy with that decision. Jay has been lighting the torch for staff while I'm out here, and it's been very helpful. So thank you for your work on this, Jay. You're doing a great job. Any questions from the board members on the business modernization update? Seeing none, I will move forward to the last item in the Executive Officer's report, which is AB 434, Web Accessibility Requirements of State Agencies. We mentioned this briefly before, perhaps, and I wanted to bring it back to the board's attention. AB 434 requires that state programs make their documents that they have posted ADA accessible, and for when they are posted on the web. And this is also for requesting a retroactive project on all documents currently posted on the website, as well as a requirement moving forward. So what I wanted to do here is just bring to the board's attention that the project to digitize all of our currently posted documents on our website will cost roughly between $20,000 and $30,000. And then moving forward, we've already started giving some of our staff training on web accessibility on documents so that we can continue, so we can move forward with creating accessible documents. And more staff will receive this training. This is just going to be another regular consideration as we're producing documents and putting them out for the public and for our members. And it's just going to be an additional cost. And additionally, it's something for the board to reflect on when we are looking, once we get, hopefully get our fees increased, the board did submit the request with a floor and a cap, and if the bill is passed, immediately put in effect the floor. And the board has the authority at that point, if the legislature accepts having that span of the floor to the cap, to raise via regulation those fees even further. So just to put it on the board's radar, we may be looking to do a regulatory increase later. Additional costs that was discussed briefly at the August meeting that was not figured into the audit was the increase in Department of Justice costs for our representation. And so I will continue to bring items to you that will show additional costs outside of that fee audit. And as we're going through to create regulations on that, I've also continued to bring these additional costs so that we may create a transparent reasoning for why we need higher fees. Any questions from the board on item F? Seeing none, I yield the floor to the president. Dr. Mateki, it looks like item 6 is the enforcement report. Shall I continue?
Yes. Yeah. Should we open up to the public, or we can do it all at once?
There's not a motion on the table. Legal counsel, is there a need for public comment on this item? Or is there an opportunity for public comment?
This is Fred Chen, you speaking. We talked about public comment overall for the executive for item number 5.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, there should be public comments on this.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello? Stephanie, go ahead and open this up to public comment.
Perfect. This is the moderator. I'll be opening up public comment right now. And thank you, Bill, for putting on the slides of how to make a public comment. So the instructions should be on your screen right now, and just simply type you would like to make a public comment if you choose to do so. And I will pause to give people the opportunity to type.
I see one comment.
So we do have a couple comments that have come in. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one, if that is okay. So we have Michael Fox. I'm going to unmute your mic. And can we do a quick mic check, please?
Can you hear me now?
Michael, yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. I would like to commend the board for very active informing the stakeholders their process of this. I know that I am no longer so. However, I would say that to present to the world that we are doctors, that we are events to this world, and process.
Michael, your comment is cutting in and out. Can you get closer to your microphone?
I'm trying to do that. Can you hear me now here?
It's a little better, but as you move, it may be cutting in and out, so we don't want to lose your comment.
I'm basically saying thank you for the work for doing this, and I'm looking to say that we have come to a process where we are approaching relevance, and acupuncturists need to understand that we step up, doctors, to look at the idea that we need to do. Sorry, I'm cutting out
Yes, Mr. Fox, you are cutting out. We're sorry.
Okay, so let me cede my time to someone else. I'm sorry, my microphone is not working.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Fox.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm moving on. I'm moving on to the second and I think last public comment we have so far, which is Neil. Neil, I'm unmuting your mic. Can we have a quick mic check, please?
Checking 1, 2, 3.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Just a reminder, we do, to the public, there is a 3-minute public comment limit with a 30-second warning. So
I think I'm good in less than 1. I wanted to know if the education, and that's a first. I want to know if the education committee, I make sure that that was open to the public regarding the clinical portion. And I wasn't clear if Ben said there was going to be a committee meeting or if there was going to be a task force at the committee meeting to discuss this. That's point 1. And point 2, I wanted to know what was the trailer bill number, if you knew that, for the new fee. Thank you.
Neil has been muted. And it looks like those were the only 2 public comments that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now let's move on to agenda item number 6. Mr. Boudier, enforcement report, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Members, please take a look at the enforcement report section. What you have here are the last 3 quarters since our August meeting, spanning quarter 1 of last fiscal year, which hadn't been completed by the time of the August meeting, quarter 2, as well as quarter 3. And please let us know if you have any questions. I think it's rather straightforward. We had a few unprofessional conducts, a couple criminal convictions that we looked through. A total of ultimately 49 complaints received. And we can take a look at the investigations that were initiated in the first quarter, 49. 192 are in process, and we were able to close 32. One thing to point out is on the page 3 of all the reports, if you look at PM3, performance measure 3, cycle time, under investigations in the black box under the investigation cell, you'll note that it's a target of 180 days. Please forgive the typo. That target is actually 200 days. So we have a little more time, but we are looking to improve our stats as well. Being that this is a straightforward report, I'm open to answering any questions from board members on any of the quarter's reports. Unless you would like me to go through each one.
Can I make a comment? And the Kidman, I look at your January 2020 to March 2020. A violation on the continuing education provider violation 26. Okay, which is I compare with the another 2 quarters. Is that because something happened on this quarter?
Yes, so this quarter, and actually this is a result of our new continuing education audit process. And in the new process that we developed last year and put into effect this year, we are, at the time that we're doing continuing education audits on licensees, we can also conduct audits on the CE providers. And so what we see here are a number of issues like the certificate was not issued appropriately. They did not have the requirements as listed in 1399.480 or 482 for CE providers requirements on their certificates, specifically things like retain the certificate for a period of 4 years. You have to have it as an individual's name typed with their license number already on it, printed on it. So it's been a while since the board has done enforcement on its providers. And so in this quarter, we were actually identifying these and issuing citations. Now, It is, again, this right here is a complaint, so that doesn't mean that 26 were cited. It's just, how should I say, 26 did have cite and fines. This just was starting the complaint. So it's been a process working with CE providers, and we're going to be working more closely with them as it seems that they're not all up on the board's regulations, which is a requirement to be a CE provider, and therefore why we issue these citations, bring them back into compliance. And we've found that CE providers have been very diligent in addressing the few that we have moved through this, in addressing items and bring their certificates into compliance readily. So we don't feel that this will be an issue, but it is necessary that CE providers as a quasi-license type at the board follow the board's regulations. Any additional questions, Member Chan?
I look at your first quarter and October year 2019 to December 19. Okay. Fourth quarter, the fraud, we had 20 cases, which is very high compared to another 2 quarters previous. Why is that in this quarter so many at the 24 cases?
Quarter 2, fiscal year 1920, October 1st to December 31st, page 1, fraud at 20. It just, sometimes these complaints come in. Sometimes these are coming in off of convictions where licensees have been convicted of insurance fraud. Sometimes these things can take a couple of years to get through the criminal justice system and then come to the board where the board takes action on that criminal conviction. So there was no one event that triggered this that I'm aware of. This is just how it came in in quarter 2.
Is it those 4 calls that has some kind of change and which area and post January on 20 cases? Because previous year we discussed on that. If anything happened to this 4th case, we urge the continuing education provider and the school to set up some course to make sure the licensee understand the way they did it is a fraud. Or do this thing is a tie-up in the previous year, or this is a new trend?
This is new. If you're referring to the regulation that the board is developing and approved last year on the CE ethics requirement, that is still being wrapped up in terms of the language. So we do hope to get that through and back to the board shortly. We are focusing in terms of regs, as you'll see during the regulation update, on some critical AB 2138, which was the bill that actually goes into effect next week on July 1st, where we can no longer ask for criminal convictions or consider criminal convictions unless they're substantially related or violent in nature or sexual in nature for more than 7 years in the history. So yes, that regulation we are seeking to submit that regulation for approval. I don't see it connected in any way here, so that regulation will hopefully address, that's the board's hope in making that decision, the challenges that some of these fraud items are listed here. And I believe there was a change also to, perhaps during the Ledge Info, change to having fraud rise in severity of actionable items slated for a bill. So we'll be reviewing that later. Does that address your question, Mr. Chan, or do you have
I wish one has some kind of watchdog to make sure those indicators and it's out of the norm. We should pay attention, see what happened, because you see the compare in that quarter 20 cases on the 4th, and then the first quarter you had 7. So it's a little bit outrage on that quarter. So I just like you guys to watch out.
We are definitely watching out. I think that what will be helpful is being able to do longer trend analysis so that we can compare the population of licensees compared to the number of these, and that would require us looking further back in time. Right now, it's a bit challenging with what's currently on our table, but we are definitely looking at this, and That was an alarming number in terms of a jump. But as you see in the next quarter, it dropped substantially. And so we'll just be sure to keep our eyes on it. Thank you for pointing that.
That's all. The question I have.
Thank you, Member Chan. Any questions from other board members?
Yes, this is a board president. Thank you, Ben. I wanted to make a comment on this new format for the performance measures. And I think you guys did a great job to make this better and clear. But I do have a question when I started review this. If you bear with me, let's just see, look at the last one, Q3 performance measures.
Mm-hmm. Please.
At a page, yes. Okay, so when you look at the complaint intake, there is performance measures, total complaints received, year to date 192, Q1 34. So, I was compared to where if you look at the page before, I was trying to calculate it because the 34, I have to figure out where this 34 numbers coming from.
So
I just wanted to, I think finally the numbers is correct, like the total number 49 received from the professional conduct. But I think the part, when I look at the number 34, I was trying to looking for, and also 48, 67, those numbers.
Mm-hmm. Give me a moment. I'm looking at Q1, July through September. I will work with our enforcement unit to understand that discrepancy and be able to bring that discrepancy to the board at the next meeting. I don't want to hold the board up right now in terms of tracking down a couple numbers, if that is all right with you, Madam President.
Yeah, sure. No, I just wanted to, but I did added all those numbers, but I just want to make a comment on those numbers. It's not really showing in the previous page, but still I want to, say is, for the, you have all meet the targeted days, and I want to congratulate you all for on that. So another part I'm echoed Vice President Chen mentioned about the fraud. There is a increasing in the second quarter, and there's a marked decrease on the third quarter. So I'm just kind of like try to see if you were through education, where the fraud is, involved. So is there any way can help to mitigate or reduce that number? Thank you.
Certainly. And my understanding is the fraud is usually associated with insurance. And sometimes it may not result necessarily in an insurance or a conviction, but the evidence is still pointing to the fraud action. So the barrier, or it's clear and convincing evidence for citations and disciplinary matters, as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt in criminal courts. So there is a different approach to that. But we will definitely pay attention to this and take a look at those numbers.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Yeah. So shall we open up to any other board member have a comments, or then we will open up to the public for comments?
Very well. Stephanie, go ahead and ask the public if they have any comments.
Okay, I am turning on the Q&A feature right now. And Bill, thank you for putting up the instructions again on the screen. So if you would like to make a public comment, please just type you'd like to make a public comment. And just a reminder, there is a 3-minute limit with a 30-second warning. And I will give everyone a moment to be able to type out if they do wish to have a comment.
Hearing now? Shall
There
we
currently
move?
is, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Steph.
There currently is no comments, but it could take people a moment to type.
Sure.
But as of right now, I'm not seeing any.
Okay, I will give another 30 seconds. Thank you, Stephanie.
So it looks like we do have one public comment. It is Philip Yang. So Philip, I'm going to unmute your microphone. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Okay, this is Philip Yang. You can hear
Yes, we
me?
can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, Philip Yang representing AACMA. About the continuing education, I do want to provide some of the information about the enforcement or quality control for the continuing education. We in the investigation for some the providers for CEU. Before I mentioned some of them providers, and the only the purpose is to make money. So they provide very low price, like $5 for 1 day. Then this attracted many people, and of course their quality is very uncontrolled, and their they don't care about the topic because they just want the CEU units, the credits, so that they can do the license renew. So this is really influence the quality of a CEU, and of course we cannot control the price, but the price really influence the quality of the teachings. So I may suggest if it is possible in the investigation for the providers and the quality of teachings, they should submit the sign-in sheet, and also maybe do the like a lottery investigation for the participants and see like what's the topic and what's the price or something like that. Yeah, this may do some of the regulations on the limits for this kind of providers. The second point is in the investigation for the providers and the participants, within 2 years, 50 units of the continuing education should include like 2 hours of ethics, medical ethics courses. So this maybe get a better control. Okay, this is my comment. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Philip has now been muted, and that looks like that was the only public comment that we had.
Thank you, Stephanie. So, Mr. Boudier, shall we move to the agenda item number 7, 2019?
And I think,
yeah.
Yes, this is the 2019 annual report. This was to show the board members and the public. This report comes out every year along with all the other programs under the DCA. This is the section on our board, and this is the information I wanted folks to get used to and understand the kind of information that's presented here. So we do show how many staff we have, how many licensees are licensed, what our board population looks like. You have my email address right there and my position, as well as our active laws and regs, when our last sunset review is, and then just accomplishments we had in 2019, including the business modernizations, a number of regulations that we worked on. We moved to the computer-based testing, which is a massive shift for us, and that's been a great success. We are working on online license renewals. We were working on a project to allow for current licensees to be able to renew with credit card payments sooner than the business modernization system would have allowed. However, the COVID-19 did put that on the back burner such that it would have happened at the same time as our new platform was made available to the public or licensees. And so there was just no point in moving into the additional costs if we were just going to be at the same time. But we do show the licensing requirements, the fees we have, our licensing activity, page 3, and a summary of our enforcement activity on pages 3 and 4. So this report comes out every year. It is usually published by the end of the calendar year, if not a little bit sooner. And it also has other, again, programs from the Department of Consumer Affairs addressing licensees. This is our information. Any questions from the board members?
Thank you, Ben. This is actually looks a very nice highlight, and thank you for you and the staff for accomplish this.
Thank you, President Mateki. Any other questions or comments from the board members? Hearing none, President Mateki, can we open it up for public comment?
Yes, please.
Stephanie, if you will, please. Members of the public, now is your chance. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Members of the public, you are now able to write that you can make a comment. We'll give you 30 seconds to see if we got anybody typing anything in. Please bear with us as we try to strike a balance between radio silence and patience for our new technological systems here. All right, I'm not seeing much activity. I think we can move forward.
Yes.
Perfect. I'll close the public comment.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Let's move on to agenda item number 8, licensing report. Mr. J. Hurt, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. So for the license report, I'm going to start with the licensing unit report, and I just have a little bit of additional information to add from the business modernization, which is basically affecting the licensing unit. The official go live date for our license renewal and initial exam and licensing app will be 8/26 of this year. So it was initially still slated to be 7/15, but because of some work with the outside interfaces that we had to solve, it got delayed by 5 weeks, but we're really confident that it's going to be there and it's going to be very useful. So, and then the other thing with the licensing unit too is that there's been a project begun of digitalizing our licensing records, and so that's underway, and that'll free up some space in our office and give us really easy access to our licensing files. So they'll be actually actively searched. So then when we go on to the licensing statistics, if you look, we've presented you statistics from quarters 1, 2, and 3. What's going to happen with this report ongoing, it's just going to be going ahead every quarter. It'll be posted in this format. And so it'll just be available. We will report at board meetings with it, but they'll just automatically go up there. And also would like to thank Ben's work in really helping with getting this presentation together and clarity and the direction of this reporting. So it's been super helpful. So to note, just in looking at the licensing statistics, when you look at the active and inactive numbers, those are our total numbers of renewals. So the inactive are not included in that active, although the delinquent are, right? So delinquents are just that's a payment status. But they're still considered active licenses. And then there's the inactive and active distinction. So you can see that we're having somewhere around 14,500 or something total licensees renewing, and kind of seeing the trend of our license kind of numbers are somewhat stable. We're also getting an slow increase in inactive and a slow increase in canceled license. This just closed on quarter 3, so whatever was done to COVID related issues, I think will show up when we have quarter 4. And then the initial license applications approved, these are This is when somebody they have passed the exam and they move their license to their first renewal cycle there. So in that we're averaging around in the range of about 85 of those per quarter, which is reasonable. And if you notice, there was no initial license denied in this quarter here. It's fairly rare. I mean, that would be a Department of Justice hit or some criminal activity that was discovered at the very late stage. Usually that's identified before then. So so we didn't have any of those. And then the last one, license renewal. This is just the renewing the license renewals as they're flowing through by quarter. I can't really explain why we had 500 more in quarter three, but it just may be some kind of rhythm of birth rates or something like that. And and we will post the quarter four report when it's available. And then moving on to the continuing education report. In terms of new CE provider applications in quarter one, we had 14, quarter two, 22, quarter three, 12. So we're getting a slow churn there, but it's not a whole bunch of activity on that one. We have gotten, we tend to get quite a few CE courses. So for the applications that we received 1,189 in quarter one, and of those 1,189, 1,104 were approved. There were 85 course denials. In quarter two, we received 706, and then there was 672 of those were approved, 34 denied. And in quarter three, we received 791. 762 were approved and 49 were denied. Those denials are usually just some kind of small place that they might have not had a signature on it, or that the instructor didn't have the qualifications, that their advertisements weren't compliant, something along that line. And then in terms of our CE providers, in terms of our active providers, that you can see that number is relatively stable at around 600. Pretty stable. They're between 601 and 599 for the 3 quarters. The total provider numbers that we've issued to date is 1648. So you can see that it's about a third are active right now. Most providers are not active that have been approved. And then I also wanted to give a little update on the continuing education issue, particularly related to COVID-19. Almost immediately in March, most, or if not all, live courses began getting canceled. And it caused a big scramble for our CE unit to move a number of those live courses to live webinars. And so basically the CE unit was just overwhelmed with having to turn over and renew a bunch of courses. And I think that will show in the quarter four report. So the other thing is that a number of licensees have either closed or limited their practices, and they're having difficulty paying both for their licenses and dealing with course cancellations and affording continuing education. But as a result of the governor's executive order N3920, which allowed the director of consumer affairs to waive statutory or regulatory requirements as needed, there was a DCA, Department of Consumer wide CE waiver. And that was allowing licensees that are renewing between March 31st to June 30th to be able to defer their continuing education compliance for 6 months. So that took the date to September 30th. So we've actually just moved, well, as of June 30th, we'll move out of this period. We're waiting to see if the director is going to be able to extend this waiver. So it has affected our CE providers quite a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to move on now to the examination report. If you're looking at our first quarter 1, 2, and 3, you can see that these are initial exam application students who are applying to qualify for the CALE. That averaged at about 99 per quarter. Moving through there, you can look at the individual numbers. In terms of initial applications received, of the ones we received, we were able to approve 106. in the first quarter, we were able to approve 88 in the second and 63 in the third. And I think that third quarter there was showing the beginning of the, with the 63, closed, it's beginning to show some of that COVID-related activity coming through to us. I think it's also interesting to note too is that we're getting less retakers right now. Most people who are taking the test are first-time test takers. So, and then with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the CALE results, the overall test results for the period of 7/1 through 12/31/2019. So we're reporting this twice a year at 180 days. So actually, we'll be due out another report in July 1st. And this report will go up on the website, and that one will go up the website too. It won't have to wait for the board report, so you'll be able to see it. But just to kind of give an aggregate answer of our overall scores, our overall pass rate was 73. For first-time takers, the overall pass rate was 82%. So those numbers are more like what we're expecting to see now. So it shows that we've worked through the implementation of the computer-based testing and how to develop our forms and present them, and the test is performing as it should be. If you look at by language, it's very, very evened out by language there with, people taking it in Chinese are 75% pass rate, 72% in English, and 71 in Korean for a total of 73%. So that's good news. And as Executive Officer Bodia mentioned, that the program has been very effective. And he already did mention that there was a period of time that PSI was closed just because of COVID-related issues, but that testing is going on and taking place at all the testing centers right now. And they're saying that they're not overloading with capacity right now. So everybody is able to test right now. Then the next part of my report is our training programs, our mouthful of acupuncture educational and training programs, applications for board approval of curriculum. So in if you can see that in quarter 1, 2, and 3, we received 4 applications in each quarter. These application types are not new programs. Actually, they're typically programs that are revising their curriculum, or really what we're seeing now is programs moving from a master level program to a first professional doctorate program. And so we're kind of seeing that become more the trend in terms of what's going on. The other thing I want to announce with that too is that our education desks right now between our continuing education coordinator and our education coordinator is staffed. And we had some challenges with staffing at that point for many different reasons, but we're fully staffed right now. And our education coordinator is up to speed in doing curriculum evaluations. And at this point, there's no backlog with our applications. I mean, there's some have been delayed, but moving forward, I think we will be able to address that program. So, and then the final program I want to report on is the Acupuncture Tutorial Training Program. I don't know what happened with my first statistic there. It looks like that there's a little bit of an issue there where it says 0 applications received. So we'll have to address that and make that there. But in the quarter, there was 4 approved for each one of the quarters. The program's completed in kind of 1 or 2 per quarter. It's not really moving super fast. And then programs terminated and abandoned. We had 4 that were in quarter 1, 0 in quarter 2, and 4 in quarter 3. So kind of a static, not a whole bunch of activity there. If you look at our total programs, we've lost as many as we've added. So we're at, kind of in the 40 to 45 range on the tutorial program. And again, our education coordinator has updated some forms for that and is taking care of that program well. So we're feeling good about that. And that concludes my education or my licensing report.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. So I would like to open up for the board members. Please chime in if you have any comment and questions. And I just want to see this new format actually is very clear, easy to read. And Mr. Hurd, you did answer my question because when I look at the tutorial training program, I was wondered the application received is 0 and how this approval is full. So thank you for looking up. So board members?
This is Ben. We'll be sure to have that adjusted for the Q4 report, and we will be listing the whole entire fiscal year. So thank you for catching that, Jay.
Thank you,
Board
Ben.
members? All right.
Here now?
I can hear you, Dr. Mateki.
Oh, I just say here now, now the board members.
Mhm.
Yeah. So shall we open up to the public? Any comment from public?
Public comment is now open.
Thank you, Stephanie. Here now, public comments. So Mr. Bodier, will you move forward to the next item?
There is one public comment. Sorry, it just popped up.
Okay,
but we do
thank
have
you.
one public comment.
Sure, thank you.
So Neil, I'm going to be unmuting your mic. Can we do a quick mic check again, please?
Checking 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. We can hear you.
Okay, don't forget to unmute me when I'm done. I just want to say for the public record, what a great asset Jay is to this board and to the consumer and to the professional and his contributions. You know, it's a thankless job, and I wanted to publicly thank him for all the work that he does. He makes a lot of issues clear. It makes it easy to disseminate the information to all interested stakeholders. So I wanted that to be part of the public comment that I'm sure that I speak for everybody else who's here who's seen Jay work, that we really appreciate what you do, Jay.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you. Neil has been muted, and that was the only public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's see, we give another few minutes. Oh, let's move on to the next agenda item 9, legislative report. First, I want to thank Jay Echo for your great work with the staff. So now move on with a welcome new policy analyst, Alex Dodge. Please, for your legislative report.
If I may jump in right here, and sorry to jump in right in front of you, Alex, before this. We have about 25 minutes before the scheduled lunch. This is going to be a rather big section. Are you okay moving through this and perhaps leaving it between lunch, or would you like to take care of some of the other matters after this that we might be able to just clear out of the way?
How about we move the agenda item 11? So what do you think?
Yes, we can move through the strategic plan, and I feel that item 11, item 12, we'll be able to address relatively quickly, and perhaps even item 13. I just know that there's a number of bills on here that it might be best to stay focused on and keep in mind. But it's up to you, President.
Yes, please. Let's do that. Thank you, Mr. Boudia.
Certainly.
Let's start with agenda item 11. Strategic Plan Progress Report. Mr. Boudia, please.
Thank you, President Mateki. So if you turn to item 11 in the board materials packet, what I've done is taken from our strategic plan all of our items, and I'm presenting what the status is. So I will go ahead and note items of that have been completed or are near completion in licensing. We have completed developing the computer-based testing, and that was completed in October of 2018, and it has been operating rather smoothly since then, so we're really grateful to see that taking off. The rest of the items in this section have not been started. They are pending start, and a lot of this is the staff and the board are spending their time on critical regulations that need to go into effect. As you'll note later, we're covering AB 2138 requirements, as I mentioned before, as well as our disciplinary guidelines and uniform standards. So that is what's been taking a lot of our time, along with business modernization as well. On page 2, our enforcement goals. We are in progress to develop and implement continuing education provider audit process to increase compliance. Member Chan, you pointed this out earlier, as we are moving through the newly developed revamped continuing education audit of licensees. We are now developing this process of the providers as well. So this is in process. Other items are all in progress. For example, recruiting additional subject matter experts. I did actually, during the beginning of the pandemic, did receive a slight uptick in applications, and the enforcement unit are reviewing these items to see if we can have some more enforcement, some more subject matter experts. And we are looking in a number of these domains, whether it's exam developers or subject matter experts for exam development, enforcement, SMEs, subject matter experts, or in our continuing education unit, whether it's both continuing education or institutional education, or what our statute says is educational and training programs. Additionally, in progress is our disciplinary guidelines, which we hope to bring to you later this year, and the uniform standards as well. Goal 3 in education, research and develop transfer credit evaluation policies and procedures to ensure compliance with education progress. Our licensing unit is working on this. Item 3.2, conduct a cost analysis on training program curriculum application reviews to properly allocate costs and ensure training program compliance. This was completed during the 2019 fee study, and there were some costs presented and some recommended fees there. Presently, the board does not have the authority to training programs as it did a few years back for initial applications, and so we did find that cost, what it cost the board to do curriculum evaluations. Item 3.3 is review curriculum standards to ensure entry-level practice and consumer safety. And this fall/winter is when we will be starting our occupational analysis. We're working with the Office of Professional Examination Services. And so what we'll see is we'll be putting together some focus groups as well as releasing surveys out to all our licensees and really trying to encourage participation. Not only does this inform us about trends in the profession, but also what we're testing on. And 3.4 is still pending. In terms of legislation, most of these matters are still pending. The first item in progress is review and update regulations to align with existing statutory requirements. Part of what you saw, part of this was seen last year when we looked at the SB 1246, where we removed old curriculum standards and that language was approved. So we are moving forward with that after the disciplinary guidelines and uniform standards. And the last item in progress in legislation and regulation is to implement a continuing education course and monitoring fee structure pursuant to Business and Professional 945, subdivision B, to allocate the cost of the process to continuing education provider applicant. This is in progress, and this was covered in the fee audit. Goal 5, on our outreach efforts. We are currently developing and implementing a communication plan. We are working with the Office of Public Affairs on this. And we have been working quite closely with them in the last several months in the communications we have with our stakeholders. The messaging has been critical, and we want to make sure that we not only in compliance and are communicating from our authority, but not overstepping that, because as we discussed earlier, there are a number of authorities here, each specialized for their own domains. And so we are only working within ours. And currently under staff reviews, update and publish informational brochure to educate the public on standards of practice. We've had to pivot in other areas in terms of especially developing these FAQs, so we haven't been able to tackle this one as of yet, but it's definitely under review right now. We've just put it down for the moment. And finally, goal 6, board administration, conduct a yearly workload study to ensure adequate staffing levels. We've been doing it yearly for various budget change proposals, or BCPs, as the acronym is, for both 2018, 2019, and we're looking at this for 2020. Item 6.2, map the board's business processes to procure an information technology system that addresses the board's functions. And we completed this in spring of 2018. We have been in this teleworking scenario. We have actually continued to continue mapping our administrative processes as well. So we definitely have gotten most of the work done and all the work necessary to be able to have our licensing and enforcement platform. Our administrative services will look to see if we can also build that into our platform. If not, it is offering we've clearly identified what our current processes are, and we can more easily look at improvements. Item 6.3, conduct a fee study. We all reviewed that at the August 2019 board meeting. Item 6.4, respond to Department of Consumer Affairs routine internal audit to address any findings. The 360-day follow-up, as it's referred to, report was submitted to the DCA audit in February of 2020, and we will be working with the audit office in the next few months to wrap that up. And we are hopeful that we are in compliance. Item 6.5, expand targeted training and materials to educate board members on board governance and subject matter. And this is part of my earlier presentation as EO. We put this on hold for the moment so we can address current emergencies, but we still want to move this forward. As board members know, they have their resources available, including board member orientation. And if there are any suggestions, the board members are always welcome to contact me and request for more assistance, training, and I'd be happy to help. Any questions from the board members on the strategic plan?
None for me.
Thank you, Member Howard-Bidian. Sounds like there is no comments there.
Thank you, Mr. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm ready for public comment if you are.
Yes, please. Let's open up.
Open. So it looks like we do have a couple public comments. So we have a few. So the first public comment is Yoon Kim. I'm going to be muting your microphone right now, and if you could do a quick mic check, please.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great, great. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to meet this morning. Really appreciate all the work on the board and the staff for making this conference work today. My question was regarding the J. Hertz report on the licensing. I just want to confirm that the testing sites are open, and what's the capacity of the testing sites?
Legal counsel, are we allowed to address this question since we're no longer in the licensing report?
I'm sorry. The question was?
This is a question from the public regarding testing availability and capacity, licensing testing, and we are on the strategic plan.
Yeah, that one we would have to, I mean, it's up to the board president if she wants to go back to that item to allow for that public, to address the public comment. But as of right now, because the item being addressed is the strategic planning, that is not on that's not a comment that can be addressed.
I did submit the comment. I did type it in during that portion of the meeting.
So,
why don't we go ahead and just address any strategic plan items first, and then if the president would like to open it back up for a public comment on that item, we can move back to that.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
perfect.
do that.
I have muted the participant. Going on to the next public comment is Rona. I have unmuted your mic. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Rona Ma. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, and also I'm the president of California, CAETMA. First, I would like to thank the board member and the staff's hard work, especially in this special critical time. As the stakeholder and organization, we will fully support the board to finish our strategic plan in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have muted Rona. The next comment we have is Neil Miller. So I'm going to be unmuting your microphone now. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Yeah, this is related to the curriculum standards comment that Ben was talking about having a follow-up group. And I'd like to point out that in the past, we had a curriculum competency task force. And I will be providing the outcome of that task force to the board. But at the task force, they said that 3,800 hours of curriculum competent education was what was needed to meet the needs of the profession. This was put together with all the stakeholders being schools and associations and independent stakeholders. And it just keeps rolling on and rolling on and rolling on, and it's never really addressed. And as we have more and more doctoral programs and no standardization there, I think that that it's important that we visit this curriculum standards issue, and that perhaps we form another task force to update the board and to better protect the public on what curriculum standards are necessary with what our scope and the types of cases that we see, and what our scope is, and what's going on in terms of advancements in the profession. So this is a really, really important issue that we discuss, the curriculum standards. And I like to open it up to the stakeholders having a say in this, and see if we could look at what was done before and then update on that and work on that, as opposed to doing years of work that just gets, put into my files as something that you guys all decided that you put into a strategic plan that never gets brought forward. So I will be providing those documents to Ben to be distributed, and we can discuss this at a future time. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil. Neil has been muted. I would like to remind the members of the public to pay attention to see the instructions on the screen. If you'd like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Q&A feature. Any questions or text written out that does not follow this format will not be addressed.
Shall we wait for any other public comments before we go back to Yoon Kim?
I do not hear any other public comments. So I think we're good to move forward.
Okay, perfect. I will move. Relocate. And would you like me to move on to Yoon Kim and unmute the participant?
Yes, Mr. Bodier, shall we?
Yes, I am
Thank
open to you opening the item again.
Okay. Yoon Kim, you have now been unmuted.
Yes. So, Mr. Hurt, I'd like to get some clarification on the capacity of the testing sites. Wanted to confirm that they are currently open.
Okay, I can do that. All the PSI test sites are currently open, and we're not getting capacity issues. They are definitely practicing physical distancing, and so there may be some temporary, problems with scheduling just because of the need to keep the spaces. But we haven't been getting reports of that. People have not been rushing forward to do it. So the biggest problem was just having them closed for a period of time, and then all the confusion about what's essential and not essential and all those kinds of things. But right now they're testing, they're available, people are moving through, and yeah, and we have capacity. We're not hearing no capacity.
Thank you for the clarification and all your wonderful work. We appreciate you and the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yoon has been muted.
Thank you, Stephanie. This would be public comment for the licensing report since we've reopened it. Okay. I think, Dr. Mateki, if you would allow, I can move on to item number 12. This will be really quick. We have 10 minutes before the break, and this is more to bring to your board members' attention. Would it be all right for me to proceed with item 12?
Hi,
Yes.
Ben. I just want to bring to your attention, we do have one more comment that someone stated that they have a strategic plan comment. Would you want me to address this one, or if we've moved on from that item?
President Mateki, would you like to reopen the strategic plan item?
Yes, let's open up and get the public comments.
Okay, so there's just one public comment. It's from Philip Yang. I have unmuted your microphone. And could you do a quick mic check, please?
Okay, yeah, Philip Yang, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Philip Yang, on behalf of AACMA and Nansta University, about the strategic plan, I'm just trying to I have a question. If it's possible, right now the COVID-19 pandemic is going worse and worse, and California has become the second number in the United States. But like Chinese medicine play an important role in China, and very, very effectively control the virus. See how possible it is that California licensed practitioners can get involved in this treatment, and maybe can be set up the committee guided by the legal counsel to do this participation. I don't know how possible it is. Thanks.
Thank you.
Members, I don't believe that was related to our current strategic plan, but there you have it.
So, Mr. Boudia, shall we move to the item 12?
Discussion. Thank you.
Sure.
Item 12 is the repeal of Title 16, Division 13.7, Article 1.5. This is the free and sponsored healthcare events regulations that was put in, took effect, the statute took effect in 2011. And in 2018, the bill was stricken. And so initially, in working with legal counsel, we were going to bring this to you to receive your approval to repeal this section because this statutory code was repealed. None of these regulations have any more effect. In recent discussions with both our legal counsels, we have determined and I've been advised that we no longer need your approval, but I did not want to take it out of the packet since we had agendized it. So I am going to move forward because this is a simple technical matter. This statute is not in effect. I will be moving forward to work with the Office of Administrative Law to remove this from our laws and regs. Any questions from our board members?
This is Fred Chan Yu, DCA Legal, and I fully concur with what Mr. Boudia said.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Boudia. I don't have the question. Thank you, Fred.
All right.
Francisco, I see you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Thank you, Bill.
I'm just checking. I see the hand sitting there. If you have a comment, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question. If not, you can go ahead and just click on that raised hand button again and it should lower the hand.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Kim. President Mateki, I'm done with this matter, and if you'd like to move to lunch.
I believe there. Oh, this is Fred again. Sorry, I think it should be a
public comment. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Fred. Stephanie, if you would please open up to public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Seeing here now? Okay.
There are currently no public comments.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Mr. Boudia. So I think we will take a lunch break here. It is time 11:53, and the meeting will resume at 1 o'clock sharp. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Members of the public, please join us back up.
Amy Mateki.
Present.
Kitman Chan.
Present.
Yongping Chen.
Present.
John Harabedian.
Here.
Francisco Hyun Kim.
Present.
Shangdu Li.
Present.
Ruben Osorio.
Present.
We're all here.
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back for our California Acupuncture Board meeting afternoon session. My name is Dr. Amy Mateki. I'm the president of the board. Before we move on to the agenda item, I just would like to thank to everyone who has participated this morning, and especially thank to Department of Consumer Affairs leadership team and the board legal consultant team, Clay Jackson and Fred Chen Yu, and for your prompt response and support to guide through the board for this minutes and meetings. And also I want to thanks to the moderators, Stephanie and Bill, for your assistance on the IT part. And we are learning. Also, I'm very grateful for the board member for all your services. So let's move on to the agenda item 9. So logistic report from our policy analyst, Alex Dodge. Please.
One moment. He's returning to his desk as we speak. Alex, okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Sorry, it's going to be a long one, so I had to get a glass of water in preparation for this. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Dodge. So I am the new, new-ish, I guess, policy analyst with the Acupuncture Board. Nice to meet you all. So we have a few items here to review. Since we haven't met yet this year, we thought that it'd be great to include the legislative calendars of both the California Senate, followed by the calendar for the California Assembly. Now, they're both pretty similar, aside from a few dates. I will point out a few important ones just in relation to where we are in the calendar. As Ben mentioned earlier, the legislature is getting pretty close to working out a deal with Governor Newsom in terms of the budget and the trailer bill. Now, the trailer bill is what's colloquially referred to as kind of a Christmas tree bill, in which a lot of people can kind of add on kind of random policy objectives to what is supposed to be a kind of a legislative tool to effectuate the budget bill itself. So what our fee increases are actually part of one of these trailer bills that are looking pretty likely to pass here tonight with the budget. So that is where we are currently in the legislative calendar, just a few days after the the real deadline in June. The legislature is currently in summer recess, but they are back today to hammer out that deal on the budget. The next important date would be August 31st, and that's the last day for houses to pass bills. From there, the governor has a couple of weeks to sign these bills before they either go into effect automatically or he signs them. And then these statutes will either take effect on January 1st or they will take effect once the governor signs them if they have an urgency clause attached to them. And that pretty much sums up the legislative calendar. I guess we can open it up to any questions from the board members in relation to that. And if not, we can move on to some of our bills.
Any questions from the members on the calendar? One thing I did want to point out, while we wait to hear if there's any question, Alex did note that August 31st is the last day for each house to pass bills. I wanted to bring members and the public's attention to also August 21st as the last day to amend bills on the floor in the Senate and in the Assembly as well. And this will come in more clarity as we approach setting our calendar, our board meeting calendar for the rest of the year. Thank you for that time. Are there any questions from the board members on the legislative calendar? Hearing none.
None for me.
I would like. Thank you, Member Horeb. I will ask Stephanie to open it up to public comment on the legislative calendar.
Okay, I will be opening the public comment now.
Just a reminder to our audience that we will be going through all these bills separately. There's no need, although you're welcome to make a comment at this time. We're simply talking about the calendar itself. Hearing none, I think we can move forward to item B of item 9B. Alex, please go ahead. I don't hear you, Alex.
There we go. Sorry, I'm muted. Anyways, here we have what I believe are 23 bills, a lot of which are sent to us by the Department of Consumer Affairs Legislative Office, the rest of which have either been ones we're already tracking or are just, somewhat pertinent to acupuncture in the state of California. First, we have 3 bills that we have already taken a position on. So we'll just go quickly through, what the status of the bill is, where it's at, what it does, and what our current position is on it. So our first one is Assembly Bill 613 by Assemblyman Lowe, titled Professions and Vocations Regulatory Fees. So this bill has not been acted on in quite some time. It may be acted on later this year, but it's unlikely that it's going to pass. That being said, and this pretty much applies for a lot of these bills, there are ways to bring these bills or the language that is contained therein back in a variety of ways. So if the legislature wants something in a bill, more often than not, they can figure out a way to make it happen. Anyways, our current position on this is support. What it would do is that it would allow us to increase our regulatory fees every 4 years in an amount that would not exceed that which is indicated by the increase in the Consumer Price Index. And what would be great for us about this is that we could increase our fees without going through the Administrative Procedure Act. As Ben mentioned earlier, we haven't raised some of our fees in 30 or 40 years. And as you can imagine, prices do go up just from inflation. And we need to be able to find a way to keep our budget aligned with those increases in costs that are just not from anything in particular aside from just inflation. And this would save us a ton of work of not having to go through the administrative procedure that we would typically need to go through for a regulatory process. So yeah. Is there any questions from the board? Our current position on this, I'll remind you again, is support. So unless we want to change where we're at on this bill, we don't really need a motion, but we'd like to open it up to the board and to the public.
Board members? Hearing no comments, go ahead and open this up to the public. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll go ahead and wait a moment to see if there's any questions from or comments from the public on this item. Hearing none and having no motion from the board, the position remains at support, and we can move forward to AB 778. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, thank you. So our next bill is Assembly Bill 778 by Assemblyman Lowe, titled Acupuncture, Continuing Education. This bill is currently located in the Senate inactive file. It's actually passed through the entire legislative process on the Assembly side all last year. And it moved pretty quickly through the Senate last year until it was moved to the inactive file right before the third reading, which is essentially the last step before it gets its last vote in the legislature before it goes to the governor for its signature. So I haven't talked to Assemblyman Lowe about as to why we pulled it into the inactive file. But again, this is another bill that could pass this year. It seems as if the legislature really didn't have any problems with it. That being said, what it would do is that it would establish by regulation a procedure for identifying acceptable providers of continuing education courses and require all providers of continuing education to comply with the procedures established by the board. So our current position is support. Is there any questions from the board? All right, I think hearing none, we can open it up to the public. Is there any public comments on AB 778? All righty then. So the next bill that we already have a position on is Assembly Bill 888, and that is also by Assemblyman Lowe. It's titled Opioid Prescriptions, Information, Non-Pharmacological Treatments for Pain. This is another 2-year bill. It's in the Senate Business Professions and Economic Development Committee. Again, it can be acted on this year, but it has not been acted on for almost a year now. So essentially, what it would do is that it would expand the existing requirements for prescribers discussing specific risks associated with opioids when dispensing the first prescription for a controlled substance containing an opioid, among other provisions. As I said before, we already have a stance on this. It's unlikely that it's going to move through this year, but like I said, you never know. Our current position is support. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
And just to specify a little further, this would, in doctors looking to prescribe opiates, they would first have to refer to other medical providers such as acupuncture, chiropractic, and such. Hearing no comments from or questions from the board, we can open this up for public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and wait a minute to see if there's any public comments on this. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to maybe 1263.
All right. So this bill is
Stephanie,
another
I'm
one.
sorry, I saw public comments on that last item.
Yes.
3 public comments that had come in.
Yes.
Okay. One moment, Alex.
Okay, I'm going to reopen public comment and I'll pull those up. Thank you for that catch, Bill. It does look like we have 3 public comments. So the first one is Neil. So Neil, I am unmuting your microphone. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Checking 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're on AB 888, but the questions from the public did not open up for 613 or 778, so I wanted you to be aware of that I didn't have an opportunity to speak. But we're on 888, so I won't, 888, I spoke with the author's office, and that bill has been pulled. It would be okay with the chair since we've moved on, and I didn't have an opportunity. I just wanted to ask a question about 613. You have a support position. Is the board writing a letter of support? And if there is a hearing scheduled, does the board show up and appear at that meeting and take that support position? I just wanted to follow up that the support is not just being done here at the board level, but that those letters are being sent out and that there is follow-up for boards. I mean, that 613 is really important. So I do support that personally, and I would like to see the board take an active role in getting that, letting them know that. And I will be writing a letter and talking with the author about bringing this up and that there is support for it. That's it.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
The protocol is that once the board takes a position, that position is communicated to the author of the bill. And if that bill is being heard, I attend the hearing to provide our position, the board's position. Next public comment, please.
Okay. The next public comment is from Sarah Hart. Sarah Hart, you have been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hi, I'm Sarah Hart from CSOMA, and on Bill AB 888, if it's not moving through this year, do you know if there's plans to reintroduce it or a similar bill or get that information in another format? Thank you.
We don't know, and I would urge you to reach out to Assemblymember Lowe.
And we have one more public comment, which is Michael. Michael, you have been unmuted. Can you please do a quick mic check?
Hi, this is Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I just wanted to state, as the former president of the CalAPMA Steering Committee, that we issued a public statement in strong support of AB 888, and I would encourage the board to continue their support of this matter. And hopefully it has not, in fact, been pulled. I hope that it comes back next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. Any other public comment on AB 888?
There are currently no public comments pending.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, let's go ahead and move to AB 1263.
All right. So the next bill, Assembly Bill 1263 by Assemblyman Lowe, entitled Contracts, Consumer Services, and Consumer Complaints. So this bill is currently in the Senate, awaiting referral by the Committee on Rules. For those of you unfamiliar, Generally, when a bill reaches either the Assembly or the Senate for the first time, it will get assigned to certain committees. The Committee on Rules will often do that. This bill was originally about something else and got and amended, meaning that they completely pulled out the original language and put in new language, which related to prohibiting licensees from interfering with their patients or a consumer from filing a complaint against them. Apparently, they are finding practices of people including provisions in contracts when they provide these professional services. They're referred to as non-disparagement clauses that would prevent these consumers from filing complaints. Obviously, that is not great from a consumer protection standpoint. And because of this, we recommend that the board take a support position. That being said, this bill has not moved since January 30th of this year and has not been referred to a committee by the Committee on Rules. It's really not it's not like it's a mystery as to where this would go committee-wise. They're holding it there for a reason aside from that. So anyways, our recommendation is support. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Do other boards have similar bills like this?
So this actually would apply to everyone, not just us. So I don't know if this is an issue with other professions or if this is an issue with our profession in particular. I'm not aware of that, but this is something that's been brought to the legislature's attention. So Assemblyman Lowe put forth a bill on it. I'm not sure what other states' policies are on this.
I understand. Okay.
Regardless of the possible status of the bill, this is still a consumer protection bill, and I urge the board to support this motion, or to support this bill. Any further questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Ben. Yeah, okay. So do we need to make a motion for this bill?
Correct. We'll make a motion and then we can open it up to public comment based on that motion.
Sure.
So
I will make the motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve per staff's recommendation on the bills.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Horeb. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I didn't catch that. That was like finish right there.
Go ahead, Kitman.
Kitman. Okay, thank you. Kitman seconds. And let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Public comment is now open. I would like to remind all attendees that the instructions for public comment are on the screen, and that just type in that you would like to make a public comment. Any other type of comments listed that don't follow this format will not be addressed. And that there is a 3-minute time limit with a 30-second warning.
If folks can make sure to mute their microphone if they're not speaking. And it's sounding like we are not receiving any public comment for this, so I will go ahead and bring this back to the board and ask Mrs. Brothers to go ahead and do a roll call vote. The motion on the table is to take a support position on AB 1263 by Member Horeb. Vice President Chan has seconded the motion.
Okay, Christine taking roll. Dr. Amy Matecki.
Aye.
Kitman Chan,
Yes.
Dr. Yongping Chen,
Aye.
John Harabedian,
Yes.
Francisco Hyun Kim,
Yes.
Shudong Lee,
Yes.
Ruben Osario.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, board members. We will go ahead and write a support position letter to Member Lowe on AB 1263. Go ahead, Alex.
All right, so our next bill is Assembly Bill 1616 by Assemblyman Lowe, entitled Department of Consumer Affairs Boards Expunged Convictions. This bill, similar to our prior bill, is pending referral to Policy Committee by the Committee on Rules in the Senate. This bill was originally about something else and was gotten amended in January to require programs in DCA that post information on its website about a revoked license due to a criminal conviction to update or remove information about the revoked license within 6 months of the board receiving an expungement order related to the conviction. The person making the change was paid to the board a fee determined by the department designed to cover the administrative costs of these requirements. We have a staff recommendation of a watch on this, as there's already a process in place for licensing which is facilitated through a motion with the board. Questions from the board?
Thank you, Alex. Any questions from the board members on that? Also, any desire to take a position? If I don't hear a motion, we will take no position, but we will open it up for public comment. Not hearing a motion from our members, we will go ahead and open it up to the public.
I'm opening the public comment now.
Hearing no comment from the public, we will go ahead and by not making a motion, the board has no position on this.
Wonderful.
And we'll keep an eye on it and see if it changes, and we'll let the board know.
All right. So our next bill is Assembly Bill 1665 by Assemblyman Bonta, entitled Athletic Trainers. So this bill is in the Senate, pending referral to Policy Committee by Rules Committee, pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10C. So essentially, in the Senate, when a bill gets substantially amended or gotten amended, as I've talked about earlier, and it's about something completely different from what it was originally, that bill can be reassigned by either the Senate Committee on Rules or by the Assembly Speaker, if I recall correctly. So it's in the Senate, so it's going to be reassigned, but it is in that committee. I believe we had a commenter bring this up earlier, but essentially what this would do would create a board of athletic training within the Department of Consumer Affairs and enact the Athletic Training Practice Act. It would prohibit a person from practicing as an athletic trainer without being licensed by the board. It would define the practice, and it would specify licensure requirements and require an athletic trainer to practice in collaboration with a physician. So as someone brought up earlier, and we also noticed the bill goes about kind of building parameters for the Athletic Trainer License Act by calling out a few kind of adjacent, so to speak, healing arts professions in which their scope would kind of encroach on them. So the legislature took care to point out multiple professions in which they said, okay, athletic trainers are not allowed to do any of these things that would be considered in the scope of a chiropractor, for example. So what we see as problematic and why we recommend an oppose unless amended position is that, hey, it's great. I personally do not care about athletic trainers being able to practice their profession. We just want to make sure that acupuncturists' scope of practice is preserved and not, being encroached on by other professions that may not have the necessary training and education to be doing the sorts of things that acupuncturists are doing. Is there any comments from the board or any positions?
So yes, this is Amy Mateki, and I like to see if you word. I can agree with you with athletic training practice, but as a physician and also a licensed acupuncturist, and I work, in the hospital, the stuff I do see. Acupuncture practice need to have the correct training and guidance. So I would move the acupuncture board to take the oppose unless amended position. And open up to other board members. Thank you.
All right, so it sounds like we don't have any comments from the board. And did I hear a motion? No. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I motion that acupuncture board take an oppose unless amended position on AB 1665.
I second.
Madam President, before we move to taking a oppose unless amended, we need to provide the amendments we would like to see. And if I would recommend perhaps saying to not have acupuncture scope of practice be included in the athletic bill. And you might want to also address that the board has considered dry needling to be acupuncture, just to make that clear as well. These are just suggestions.
Yes. Maybe board member.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to go ahead and kind of just get that motion in its entirety. How would you like to frame it? Would you like to include everything I said, some of what I said?
Yes.
That's fine. Okay, so then why don't we say, looking at the recommended language below, I motion the acupuncture board take an oppose unless amended position on AB 1655 to exclude the acupuncture scope from the scope of athletic trainers based on educational requirements, and to also specify that the acupuncture board sees dry needling as acupuncture, and it is within the acupuncture scope of practice. Is that okay to amend as follows, as I stated, Dr. Mateki?
Yes. And maybe Fred can help, or board members, anyone else, and sounds good to me.
Madam President, this is Fred. So am I hearing that the board is going to, the motion is for the board to oppose this bill unless the bill is amended pursuant to these two terms and conditions. One of which is specifying that the usage of the needles lies specifically within the realm of acupuncture, and the second condition I wasn't quite clear on.
It's the second condition was to further specify, and you captured it appropriately, the use of needles and the rest of the acupuncture scope, including magnets, herbs, manual therapy, but just the current acupuncture scope of practice.
Okay.
To be exempted from it, and that the board's interpretation of dry needling, which is the use of needles on a person's body to affect a change, is considered acupuncture in California, as has been established at previous board meetings.
Okay, all right.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Yeah, Chairman Chan at a second.
We have a second from Member Chan. Let's go ahead and open this up to public comment, please.
Public comment is now open. So we do have some public comments. Let me just locate the numbers. So the first public comment is from Victoria. Victoria, I am unmuting your microphone. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Victoria Tuan, a licensed acupuncturist and the board of trustee of the Association CalAtma. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the board for protecting the consumers in California. Regarding this Bill AB 1665, this is my comment. It appears that it is approved for an athletic trainer to use dry needling for treatment in California. The dry needling is actually a technique used by a qualified acupuncturist. Therefore, for consumer safety, an athletic trainer should get adequate acupuncture training like an acupuncturist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria has been muted. Now on to the next public comment, which is Michael. Michael, your mic has been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hello, this is Dr. Michael Vox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I would like to support the board's proposed position of oppose unless amended. We have seen over the last recent months and years a concordance, if you will, of attorneys going, this is a loophole in the bills. Because athletic trainers do not currently have a license, that license cannot be pulled, and their practice of acupuncture, which would include what's now called dry needling, and what I would suspect would be more precisely translated as insertion of any needle into body tissue, should be opposed by the acupuncture board. This has become a marketing and a branding issue, and whether or not it's called dry needling or orthopedic acupuncture or whatever it's going to be called, athletic trainers deserve to have their licensure, and we as acupuncturists, for the protection of the public, deserve to have our a scope of practice protected, because we have so much training in the insertion of needles under whatever name it's called, whether it's acupuncture or dry needling or orthopedic acupuncture or any of the other names that it might come up with in the social media age. I definitely would support and oppose unless amended, with the specific caveat that insertion of a needle into body tissue be excluded from any scope of practice that is allowed to athletic trainers without adequate training. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fox.
Okay, and now Dr. Fox has been muted. Moving on to the next question, which is from Neil Miller. Neil, you have been unmuted. Could you do a quick mic check, please?
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So I've been following this bill for many years. They've been wanting to do the athletic trainer bill for a long time. And what this brought up was the naturopathic bill that John Burton did many years ago. And I wrote amendments for that bill. And so I have written a specific amendment for this bill. It's not quite what the Acupuncture Board did, but I'd like for you to hear it, and maybe this works better for you. It would be item G, Amendment G, and it says this is right out of the Office of Administrative Law that they put into the naturopathic bill, except for I added the word dry needling. It says perform acupuncture, and then I added in parentheses include dry needling. So it says item G, Amendment G, perform acupuncture including dry needling or traditional Chinese and Asian medicine, including Chinese herbal medicine, unless licensed as an acupuncturist as defined in subsection C of section 4927. The reason that I specifically wrote this is that throughout the country, physical therapists and athletic trainers have, as Michael Fox, the former chair of CalAtma Steering Committee, articulated, that they're using a loophole to say that dry needling is manual therapy. And it is not manual therapy, and that's why I wanted it specifically spelled out in the language of this amendment. And the amendment, like I said, has already passed through the OAL, in terms of it being acceptable, other than the words dry needling being added. And since I've been working on this since 2006, that the Acupuncture Board has again and again taken the position that dry needling is acupuncture. So I do support the board's position to oppose unless amended, and I hope you'll take a look at the amendment that I put forth. It's much clearer and concise, and I think it accomplishes everything that both the board and all the public members who have articulated that they want in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Neil has now been muted. Moving on to the next.
Stephanie, I'm going to jump in here for a second and just advise the board. I want to be careful as we're moving through this. We're getting some public comment, and what we're hearing in terms of protection of scope. The board's role is not to protect scope. The board's role is to protect the public. So obviously, there are other professions that can needle, like medical doctors and dentists and podiatrists. That scope is under their purview. And it is recommended, at least for medical doctors, that they receive 300 to 400 hours of training. So we want to be careful. We're not here to protect scope. We're here to protect the public. And so we really need to make sure that if it's the needling, and perhaps saying acupuncture in general is too broad, because herbs do not require licensure, right? Anybody can be an herbalist in California. So we cannot be so exclusive as that, but we can point to education requirements. So as was mentioned at the same time by other public commenters, it's based on the education here. So perhaps framing it more like our legal counsel has said, that the act of needling without the proper education for that, and the board can, state that California requires 3,000 hours of education for its licensed acupuncturist, and additionally refining that the practice of dry needling, which is the insertion of a needle into the body, is considered acupuncture as well, as established at prior board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boudier. Well said.
We can return to public comment. Thank you, Dr. Matecki.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So the next public comment is from Philip. Philip, your microphone has been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hello, Vivian?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Philip Yang, on behalf of AACMA, first I really agree, Ben, to clarify the CEB is trying to protect the consumers, the public. This is very, very important. And also, I fully support Dr. Mataki to oppose this bill because the acupuncture practice, as Ben mentioned, that need 3,000 hours of trainings, is systematic training. Otherwise, the athletic and also just like PT, they didn't have the systematic training for acupuncture, and even they have different terms, but essentially that's the invasive practice. They have a big potential to damage the public, the consumer, the consumers. So we strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip has now been muted. That is all of the public comments, but we do have one more public comment from someone who has spoken already. So Victoria, I am unmuting your microphone again. Victoria, can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hello. I'm muted.
Yes, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, you should mute it. You should mute me.
Okay.
Oh, you don't want to make another comment?
No, I haven't sent it. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
We don't have any other public comment in line at the moment. I see. Board members, in terms of refining that motion, we might just say the oppose unless amended to exclude items that are, let's see, to oppose unless amended to exclude the Acupuncture Practice Act, commencing with BPC section 4925 from the athletic trainer based on educational requirements of an acupuncture license, and to clarify that the board and California law treats dry needling as acupuncture. Will that be an okay amendment to your motion?
Yes. Thank you, Ben.
So
this is the moderator. Sorry, this is the moderator. Real quick, before I close the Q&A, we do have one person who spoke again, put in a duplicate comment, just to bring to your attention.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and put them on hold right now while we refine the motion language, as we will have to open public comment up again once that is done.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Dr. Mateki, you had said that you were open to that amendment?
Yes.
And Kipman, you seconded. Are you open to that?
Yeah.
I would recommend that we just retract the previous motion and just state that, so we don't have to go through multiple items. So I will say the board motions to oppose unless amended to exclude the Acupuncture Practice Act commencing at BPC section 4925 with the understanding that the acupuncture license requires over 3,000 hours of education, and this is in the interest of protecting the public. Additionally, for clarification, the board views dry needling as acupuncture, and California law views dry needling as acupuncture. And we can go ahead and, Kipman, if you go ahead and second that again, and then we'll open up to public comment, and then we can vote.
I motion as what Ben has said. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Kipman?
Yes, I'm second.
Thank you. Finally, back to the public for comment.
Okay, I'm turning back on the public comment.
Thank you.
And we do have one.
Please.
So I'm going to unmute Neil. Give me 1 second. Neil, you have been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for pointing out, Ben, that anybody can do herbs, but the language in the naturopathic bill specifically said Asian herbal medicine that's listed in our scope of practice, and we felt that that was very important to list because other professions may put the public at risk by saying they are using Asian herbal medicine or needles or dry needling. So that's why I included it in there. That was very specific that that is in our scope. It doesn't keep anybody from using herbal medicine, but a person can't go out there and say they are licensed to use Asian herbal medicine, which is how the law currently reads. So thank you again, Ben, for pointing that out.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And I think we captured that by referring to the Acupuncture Practice Act directly. Any further public comment from the public? Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, sorry. Neil has been muted, and I currently do not have any more public comments.
So much.
Let's do the roll call. Christine or Ben?
Okay. Dr. Amy Matecki?
Aye.
Kitman Chan?
Yes.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Harabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Hyun Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osario?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, members.
All right. So our next bill is Assembly Bill 1850 by Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. It's titled Employee Classification, Still Photographers, Photojournalists, Freelancers. So this is probably something that we will go more into depth regarding in a future meeting with a memo, an agenda item of its own. But just for the purposes of having our stance with the legislature known, I thought that it would be prudent if we talked about kind of the surrounding issue of the Dynamex decision and Assembly Bill 5, which is what this is kind of amending. So essentially, as a result of the ruling of Dynamex operations versus the Superior Court of California in 2018, essentially, acupuncturists now are standard to what is called the ABC test, which has been codified through AB5 into statute. And it's a very strict test, meaning that if you cannot satisfy A, B, and C, all three requirements, then you automatically have a worker-employer relationship for the purposes of employment benefits and whatnot. So as a commenter stated previously, this is actually quite common with acupuncturists to have an independent contractor relationship with professional corporations that they are employed by, or maybe they employ other licensed professionals in their business, in which this law would now govern their employer-employee relationship. We've gotten a lot of calls from acupuncturists talking about not only the Knox-Moscone Corporation Act, but also Assembly Bill 5 and how now in 1850 they are essentially making more carve-outs, and they're changing more and more professions over to the less restrictive standard, which is called Borello, which is a previous court case. It's a much less restrictive standard by which essentially the court looks at 16 or 17 different factors to kind of decide, okay, is this like an employee-employer relationship, or is this an independent contractor relationship, which is what we were under. And to my knowledge, we were happy that way. However, Assembly Bill 5 has excluded us from being kind of excluded from the certain set of professionals in the state that would be excluded from the changes. So a lot of similarly situated healing arts boards have been kind of precluded and carved out from this change in the worker classification standards. Doctors, podiatrists, osteopaths, chiropractors, I believe, as well. Just a lot of similarly situated healing arts boards are excluded by name, and we are not. So essentially, what our position would be, or what we recommend, is to oppose 1850 unless amended, in which we would request that we are also excluded from the ABC Dynamex standard and instead be considered under the Borrello standard. I've reached out to the Assemblywoman's office multiple times over the course of 3 or 4 months, calls and emails, to try and reach out and see if this is something that's feasible, just kind of see as to what the logic was as to why we were excluded and other boards were included, and I've yet to hear back at all from them. So that's where we're at. I figured, anyways, that's where we're at. So do we have any comments from the board? Any questions?
Not hearing anything from the board members. Staff is recommending and oppose unless amended to also exclude acupuncturists from the AB 1850.
From the Dynamex standards.
From the Dynamex standards, thank you. Okay, sounds like board members do not have a position on this, so we'll go ahead and open it up to the public for comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you. All right, I am not hearing any public comment on this earlier, although I thought I had heard an association speak up about this matter earlier. I guess the board and the board public have no comments on this. All right, we'll take no position. And yes?
Yeah, this is a board president. Sorry, I was muted myself. And I was talking, I was like, why no response? Okay, we went to public. So anyway, I thought when we silence means we agree with the staff recommendations.
So,
I just
we'd love to hear a motion if someone wants to take a position on that on the board.
I'll move to adopt the position that staff recommends.
Thank you, Member Horeb. Do we have a second? Dr.
Yes.
Matecki seconds.
Thank
Open
you.
it for public comment. All right. Go ahead and move to a roll call vote. Motion is to Acupuncture take an oppose unless amended position on AB 1850 by Assemblywoman Gonzalez, as amended May 12, 2020, for the amendment to exclude the Acupuncture Board from the Dynamex text. And we and we'll call vote this.
Dr. Amy Matecki?
Yes.
Kitman Chan,
Yes.
Yongkin Chen,
Yes.
John Harabedian,
Yes.
Francisco Hyun Kim,
Yes.
Shangdu Li, Shudong Li, sorry,
Yeah, got it.
Ruben
Sorry,
Osorio,
member Lee, was that yes?
sorry,
Yes.
okay, Ruben
We
Osorio,
clarify.
Yes.
motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
So the next bill we have is Assembly Bill 1909 by Assemblywoman Gonzalez. It's titled Healing Arts Licensees, Virginity Examinations or Tests. This bill is in the Assembly. It's been referred to the Committee on Business and Professions. It's unclear if this will pass, considering it has not moved since the very first week of the legislative session this year. This bill would prohibit a healing arts licensee from performing an examination or test on a patient for the purpose of determining whether the patient is a virgin. Violations of the provisions would constitute unprofessional conduct and be grounds for disciplinary action by the licensing board. Staff recommends a watch position. We're not sure how prevalent this is in the acupuncture community, if at all, but it is impacting what healing art professionals in California are allowed to do. So it definitely should be on our minds, but yeah, we recommend watch on this one.
Any questions or comments from our board members on this or a position taken? The challenge was we did not find a bill analysis prepared on the legislature on this. Let's go ahead and open up for public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you. Give a moment for the public to chime in if they have anything to say.
We do have one public comment so far.
Please.
Locate the individual. Michael, your microphone has been unmuted. We do a quick mic check, please.
Hi, this is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you. I find this idea of virginity test to be gender specific. As an expert in male health, it is not germane to men or those identifying as male genders. And so it would be onerous to those identifying with female gender. And I would encourage the board to support this just in the sense of it's not something that acupuncturists do generically or specifically or even as a course of action. We might inquire about it casually as a means to form a TCM diagnosis, but it is really not germane to acupuncture or health or herbal documentation specifically. And I find that most of my patients who identify as male or who identify as otherwise with male genitalia would benefit from this examination. So I would have us watch this very carefully with an idea that it's not really germane to the acupuncture board. Thank you very much.
Michael has been muted. Moving on to the next public comment. Neil, your microphone has been unmuted. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Is this me? Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear my name called. Yeah, this isn't really germane to acupuncture. I agree, but I do think that there are things. We are a multicultural profession, multicultural relationships with patients, things that someone might have done in another country that aren't really practiced here, might be practiced here because they're not familiar. It may be germane to their particular culture that it's, people ask or do these sorts of things. And I think it's real clear, especially when we have so much sexual impropriety that has plagued our profession in the past, that the board does take a position. That the board does say, hey, we agree that, you shouldn't be doing, asking these questions or not necessarily asking questions, but performing this exam. And I would like to see it more clearly stated, even though it may come up once out of 100, 1,000 times. I just want to protect that one person who might be violated, and that it might be headed off at the pass if it was made clear that the acupuncture board took a position on this and said, hey, this doesn't belong amongst the things that we do. That's it.
Neil's microphone has been muted, and it looks like that was our last public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board members, you have heard public comment. Any additional changes or positions that you would like to take based on that?
I motion that the acupuncture board to watch position on AB 1909 as introduced on January 8th, 2020 for the reasons discussed by members and staff and as reflected in the staff memo.
Thank you, Francisco. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Ruben Osorio seconds. And we now move to public comment again, since there's a motion on the table.
Public comment is now available.
Okay. We do have one public comment, it looks like.
Yes, we have one public comment. Michelle, your microphone has been unmuted.
I actually don't know if I hit it in time, but I meant to hit it before the motions was moved. But I just wanted to say that sexual assault is one of the highest things that acupuncturists tend to get convicted of or have an investigation of. And I think that it is very important that we outline exactly what our stance is on this and make sure that we're keeping the public safe from people that are going to be perpetrated against. That's my comment.
Thank you. Michelle has been muted, and I believe that was the only public comment that we had.
Thank you, Stephanie. Seeing no further public comment. Roll call vote.
The motion is to take a watch position on AB 1909. Dr. Amy Mateki?
Yes.
Jitmin Chan?
Yeah.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Herabidian?
Aye.
Francisco Hyun Kim?
Yes.
Shu Dong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, board members. We will be watching this bill and bring it back to you at the next meeting.
This is Fred. Just a clarifying note. I think that for future items, whenever a member would like to put put a motion on the floor. Again, this is just more of a technical wording here. I would recommend using the words "I move" to XYZ as opposed to "I motion." Again, this is a technical suggestion.
Thank you, Fred. We will go ahead and change our model language in the future so that board members be advised to use "I move" instead of "I motion."